At 5:30 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, we begin to load our equipment aboard the charter dive vessel Seahawk. We're all looking forward to diving the G&D wreck because of the abundance of lobsters usually found on the site. The Seahawk is a 36-foot main coaster. The custom dive vessel is owned and operated by Captain John Lachenmayer and Captain Frank Persico, two of the most experienced wreck divers on the East Coast. John and Frank run the Seahawk out of Jones Inlet, New York, on Long Island's South Shore. From here, they have a huge selection of wreck sites to choose from. The Seahawk runs daily wreck diving charters from April through November of each year.
John, what do you know about the history or layout of this wreck?
I don't know about the history because it's unidentified wreck, but basically it must have went down around the 1920-ish, okay? It's about 350 foot long, and it's broken into two halves. The bow half being maybe about 70 foot long, and the 25 foot break between the halves, and then the stern half, which contains the engines and the boilers. Basically, it's a lobster dive. It's been dove for a long time, and years ago, people used to find portholes. I don't know much other than that coming off the wreck. Just recently, I did find the dish, which has this letter P on it, which, if we could identify the line, we might be able to identify the ship. I was all psyched up when I found this plate, thinking, oh boy, I got the Rosetta Stone.
The clue, yeah.
Now I'm finding out even with the clue, it's not so easy. It turns out that the identification of an older ship is tough because there's not many records that show the flags of the older ships. And even if you do find it, a lot of the records are almost non-existent.
Bow, then there's low-lying wreckage, probably...
As we cruise offshore, we carefully discuss the wreck's layout and our dive plan. Once we're near the site, Captain John finds the wreck by utilizing the Seahawk's Loran and depth recorder. Once the wreck is spotted, a buoy is dropped to mark the exact location. Finally, a mate jumps in to secure the Seahawk's anchor into the wreckage below. It's now time to suit up and go diving.
Okay, you got 145 foot of bow broken by 22 feet by another 97 feet to the boiler, and then whatever the boiler's an engine take, going back to the stern is 82 feet. So if you add it all up, you get 346 feet. So, you know, I don't know how to count in the break and stuff, but basically the wreck was somewhere between 3 1/4 and 350 foot long when it was floating. Looking at a little more detailed sketch, the bow tilts to port. There's two catch anchors right at the bow and a small capstan. And right in the middle of the deck, what would have been a deck, is a spare propeller, okay?
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's about an 8 or 10 foot prop, but you have to be off the bottom to see it.
You must have swam right over it. Never recognized it.
Going back on the starboard side is what I call like a T-piece section. It's hull plate that's bent over, and you can actually
swim through that.
Right.
I've seen that.
And then going across the break in the sand, you hit flat deck, and you can go down either side, or right down the middle, you run into more bollards, and then the boilers. The boilers you can't miss because they're basically the width of the whole wreck, okay? And they come up to about 30 foot off of the bottom.
What, two boilers, John?
Yeah, it's a twin boiler, and behind that's a compound steam engine, okay? The steam engine is that, okay? That's the steam engine. Okay. And after that is the stern tilting on a list, okay, of about 30 degrees.
Oh, that's a nice shot.
Yeah. Looking from the engine towards the stern, you would see this type of profile where you could see there was actually a deck winch and low-lying rubble, and that's the stern, which is this piece back here. Wow. It's a pretty wreck. These were taken with natural light, 15 millimeter Nikonis lens. The natural light, you don't get the backscatter.
Sure.
Right.
Most of our divers are utilizing the new UATech AirX dive computer.
You can use that to plan your dive, Jerry?
Right, now it's set at 15 minutes. Have a 10-foot stop 1 minute.
Okay.
And we have a total ascent time of 4 minutes. Now, do this here. I just added it to 16 minutes, and we can keep going and bring it up to whatever we want.
I figure about a 25-minute dive or so, 25 or 30.
At a 25-minute dive. Cycles, and now we have a 20-foot stop for 1 minute, and a total ascent time of 16 minutes with a 10-foot stop will be built in.
And that's beautiful. And that'll do the same thing on the second dive?
On the second dive also. You can plan all your dives, and you can change the rate of time you want to spend by adjusting it here.
Beautiful.
One of the best features of this computer is that after the dive, it's simple to download the information onto your home computer. The dive log program allows you to visually track your depth, air consumption, decompression information, as well as all other pertinent dive information at any point during your dive. Finally, it's time to jump into the clear but chilly Atlantic. We each make our way to the Seahawk's stern and jump in, eager to see what adventures await us below. Stay tuned. When Dive Wreck Valley returns, we'll be descending to explore the unidentified wreck known as the G&D. Captain John spots some fresh anchor rope and quickly starts to untangle a fisherman's lost anchor. John will leave the anchor exposed to be raised later. Mike starts his tour by heading forward along the wreck's starboard side. This wreck was originally named after two girls, Gloria and Doris, that were on a fishing boat the day the wreck was found. Since then, the name is stuck, and even today, nautical charts refer to this site as the G&D. John swims past the wreck's two huge boilers. These boilers are one of the key navigational landmarks on the site. We find that fishermen also frequent the area. Here's a trawler's lost fish net, and not far away, a lobster trap wedged under a hull plate, the result of a recent storm. John shows us the break in the wreck. Across this 25-foot stretch of sand, the wreck's bow section can be found. The G&D's bow sits upright and intact with a slight tilt to port. Marine life like this sea bass make their home within the bow's hull. A little astern and off her port side, divers will find a walk-around capstan sitting in the sand. Back towards the stern, John and Mike are busy looking for lobsters. Within only a few minutes, John spots his first lobster of the day. This tasty little crustacean doesn't even stand a chance and is quickly and skillfully captured. Meanwhile, Mike has found a bottle on the wreck. It doesn't look that old, but we'll bring it up to the surface to have a closer look. The G&D's single engine stands a good 20 feet high. This is a machinery aft vessel, so the engine is very close to the wreck's stern. John's trained eyes spot yet another lobster, and he quickly thrusts his arm deep into the lobster's hole, careful not to let the bug get hold of any of his fingers. The G&D is one of the most productive lobster wrecks in the area. Only a few feet away, Mike finds yet another bottle. Artifacts have never been abundant here, so this is a substantial find. Mike carefully inspects his find, an intact early 1900s vintage hair tonic bottle. This bottle helps us to confirm the wreck's age, which will certainly make the near impossible job of researching the vessel's identity a little easier. John is still busy lobstering and shows us yet another decent-sized bug. Towards the bow, Steve Jonathan swims through a teepee-shaped hull plate. He emerges from the other side, having captured a lobster. John, who's now at the tip of the wreck's stern, wiggles inside her hull in his never-ending search for bugs and artifacts. Steve spots a lobster, spooks it out of its hole, then grabs what will become dinner for the hungry diver. Some divers choose to utilize dive reels for navigation, but on clear days like this, as long as you keep track of key navigational landmarks, it's pretty simple to find your way around the G&D wreck. John spots yet another lobster and quickly goes to work. He certainly makes it look simple, but in reality, John is just very experienced. Keep in mind that John brought us on a tour of the site today and only casually picked up a few lobsters as we passed over them. Imagine if he had spent the whole dive looking for bugs. Our bottom time is quickly running low, and it's now finally time to start our slow ascent towards the surface and our first safety decompression stop. Stay tuned. When Dive Wreck Valley returns, we'll be climbing back aboard the Seahawk to look at our artifacts and lobsters. Time to climb back aboard the Seahawk.
Gonna leave some for me, huh?
We had a good dive. We went from the stern to the break, all around. But you guys left a lot of lobsters back there.
Are there any left now?
I don't know, judging from the bag.
Not after I go in again. That big one, did you get that on the engine? Right next to the exit line?
The biggest one, I think, was in the stern.
You got one short too,
Yeah. What happened, a little one swam in. I was chasing him, and I looked, and there was a big one behind him. I reached over the little one and grabbed the big one.
Nice, huh?
John's like, he's like a magnet for these things.
How big do you think that is?
I don't know, what do you say, John, about 4 pounds?
Yeah, at least. We did a lot of traveling. Yeah. I think you must go up and show you the break.
I had never been astern of the boilers before. That was real pretty.
Well, that's the plate came from there, and where Mike found this bottle is where I got my hexagon bottle.
You got another bottle, too.
Yeah, I saw that.
That one lobster, were you chasing a little one?
Yeah.
And then you ran into a
Yeah.
big one, because all of a sudden you got excited.
Yeah.
I was like, why is he getting excited over a little
Yeah,
lobster?
he got me slightly off the end. It's as far back as I can reach in that little hole. You can go all the way up if you want, Mike.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of china down there, broken china. That's that piece you grabbed?
Yeah.
This is a nice one.
Oh!
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh!
Blues Brothers.
Oh!
I
Had
actually,
that right next to your lobster.
I stole that from you. That was pushed out of the hole the lobster was in, the big one you got.
Yeah?
The one you reached for your shoulder, that was hanging out of the hole on the side.
This is a nice bottle.
Isn't that pretty? It's got raised levels.
Look at the cap on it.
Yeah.
See?
That's nice, huh?
Oh, what's that?
Lewis Brothers, Inc., New York.
Very nice.
With the cap.
With the cap, wow. Oh, Mike, even the cap has writing on it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Nice.
That's
You
a
know,
nice
it's
bottle.
Funny thing, though.
You would have gone for that lobster. If I didn't pass it on the side, you would have had that. It was sticking out of the same hole.
2 bottles. I've never seen anything come off of this track.
These are all jacks?
Yeah, grab
thing-
No,
the
the
thing
bottles
is,
are Mike's.
You know, like with the giant tuna, well, this is the same thing. The
Captain. I'll let you have that. You can find Mike.
Let Mike hold. Beautiful.
Isn't that pretty?
We've all had a great day of diving off the charter dive boat Seahawk. It's now time to head for home and plan for our next day of wreck diving adventure. For further information or a free schedule on diving off the Seahawk, contact Captain Frank Persico at 718-279-1345. After our dive and filming day on the G&D, I went back home and tried to do a little research, trying to identify the wreck. I contacted all my usual sources, maritime museums, etc., and nobody could turn up any information on that steamship emblem. I called my friend Bill Schell from Massachusetts, marine historian, and he was finally able to identify the steamship company as being the Pittsburgh Steamship Company. We found out through research that in their entire existence, the entire fleet of the Pittsburgh Steamship Company only sailed on the Great Lakes. Back in World War I, 5 of their vessels were transferred off the Great Lakes. They were actually cut in half, transferred off the Great Lakes, reconstructed for the Northeast coal trade. Of those 5 vessels, 4 were whaleback barges. They had no engine. Only 1 fits the description of the G&D wreck, and that's a wreck or a ship that was originally named the German. She later changed names and sank in a collision with the Argentina. This is a vessel known as the Yankee. So right now, recreational divers have once again put together the research as well as finding the artifacts to positively identify one of the mysteries off Long Island. And we've probably got a 90% positive identification that the wreck previously known as the G&D is really a wreck named the Yankee. The only problem is that a few miles away, a wreck that we've always thought to be the Yankee is now unidentified. Maybe sometime in the near future, John will go out and find another artifact that'll let us identify that wreck.